You chose to stay where you are. Your love only went so far.
I told the plug I need 100 pigs. Now my shoebox got 100 G. I told my plug I need 100 pigs. Now my shoebox got 100 G.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Cannabis Corner on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We are streaming live on TuneIn Radio and NewHavenIndependent.org. We're also streaming live video on Facebook Live. Just go to facebook.com/New Haven Independent or go to your Facebook page and look us up and hit see first if you want to see all the great shows that go on the New Haven Independent and WNHH. And that includes Joe Ugly and Harry the Brave and all kinds of great stuff that's happening. So anyway, so for those of you watching on Facebook, you might see a different face. That's not Uncle Lou right there, but he is on the way. This is our new, I would say, intern for now, Matt Matievich.
Hello, hello.
Yes, and Matt is a graduate from the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, but he is also a medical marijuana patient and very well versed in marijuana and cannabis and all things about it.
Yes, sir.
So that's why I chose him to be an intern for the show, and he's going to be working with us for a little while.
Thanks for having me.
Learning the ropes, and then he's going to be on air with me for a little while till Lou gets here, and then we'll keep rolling. Today, I wanted to cover a couple of things, but first I wanted to introduce, just ask you a little bit about your background. Now, you are a medical marijuana patient.
Yes, sir.
How long have you been a patient?
For a year now.
For a year. Okay, great. And what is your diagnosis? What are you using it for?
So I'm using it for SMA, which is my original diagnosis. So originally I had a lot of eating problems, and cannabis was a huge opening for me to finally eat and kind of gain a little pounds instead of being 100 pounds soaking wet. So I've just recently had some more medical problems, as you know, and those have hindered me even a little bit more. But yeah, so 100%. It's helped me eat, helped me get a clear head, gain weight, and all the above. Yeah.
So what is SMA? That is something a digestive disorder where you cannot gain weight.
Yes, sir. So basically, my intestines is strangling my stomach.
Oh.
So after a while, once your stomach ends up getting so small, probably around the size of my fist.
Oh wow.
My intestines wraps around it, and whenever I'm eating, my stomach can't expand. So as much as I'm eating, it's staying. So I can't really expand that when I'm eating a lot more. The only way to fix that, the doctor looked at me straight in the face and told me I had to eat 5,000 calories a day.
Wow.
And stretch out my stomach to basically get my intestines back open up as well as my stomach to really get things flowing again. So
and the cannabis helps with that?
Absolutely. 100%.
It helps with your appetite?
Appetite, 100%. I wake up in the morning. A couple of years ago, I'd wake up every morning and have a sickness. I'd be vomiting in my toilet, on my knees, like horrible.
Because you weren't digesting things properly,
yeah, properly.
Right?
And my stomach was just basically being strangled. So I'd wake up in the morning, I wouldn't eat, and then I'd go throughout the entire day not eating, and that would make it even worse. So if I finally put a stand up and I'm ready to change.
And regular medical doctors, did they try to give you any pills or anything, or they just said go straight to medical marijuana?
My sister went to medical school, so the first time I went to the hospital to address the situation, I actually took ondansetron. Ondansetron is a pill for pregnant women. For morning sickness.
Oh, I see.
So basically, they tried giving me a morning sickness pill to see if it would have anything to do with anything or change anything. I took one prescription and it never really did anything, and it just kind of moved on.
Right.
I lived with it. But in other note, feeling a lot better.
So the cannabis works?
Yeah, 100%.
Have you gained weight since you started using it?
So I collapsed a lung. I had a spontaneous pneumothorax.
What is that?
So basically, like I said, it's just a fancy term for collapsing a lung.
All right, tell us how that happened now. You have an interesting story with this, and it has to tie in with the vaping.
Oh, 100%.
The
I can't
vaping
lie.
that's going on. Okay, so you had a collapsed lung how long ago?
I'm gonna say probably 3-4 weeks ago, probably a month now.
A month ago.
Yeah.
So just a month ago, you had a collapsed lung. Now, and you were vaping.
Yes,
you
sir.
Were vaping.
Juuling to be specific. I
Juul-
feel like vaping and juuling need to be
Okay,
separated.
that's a good point. So you were juuling,
Yes, sir.
and you were using cannabis vapes.
Yes, sir.
And were you using legitimate cannabis vapes?
So I know that we had a prior conversation about this.
Right.
I have a girlfriend who lives in Massachusetts,
Mm-hmm.
and when it actually flared up, I was actually having a small pen from off the street. So it was definitely probably had some kind of carcinogens in it, something that my lungs really couldn't take, and immediately I felt a fire in my left lung.
And this was from an illegitimate
Yes, sir.
cannabis THC.
Yes,
Do
sir.
you remember the
One of the-
brand?
It was a TKO cart.
TKO card.
Yes, sir.
And you got it from the street.
And I got it from the street.
How much you pay for it?
My girlfriend paid probably like $35 to $40.
$35 to $40 for a full gram.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's a good deal.
Yes, sir. So these people.
Okay, so now right away, your girlfriend, she should have known.
Yeah.
So she comes home with these TKO vapes,
Yes.
and you're drooling at the same time.
Yeah,
So you're
well,
hitting the TKO and
lot.
the Juul.
A lot.
Right.
A lot. I'm hitting the Juul at least probably 5 to 10 times.
And how long
per
you been hitting the
30.
Juul before you hit this TKO vape?
I've been hitting Juul since my junior year of high school.
And
So
that's-
probably since 2016-17.
Okay, so 2 years.
So 2-3 years for sure.
And you had never had any lung problems before
Never had
with
any
the
lung
Juul?
problems before. Nope. I had a little bit of I'm blanking. Asthma.
Okay.
So I did have like a little prior as a child.
Oh, okay, but
I
not
grew
from
out
the
of it.
Juul.
Yeah, but I grew out of it getting older. I used to have a nebulizer and things like that, but as I grew older, my lungs got bigger. It kind of grew with my body, and I was fine.
Okay, so you were juuling for about 2 years.
2 to 3 years.
And
yeah.
then how many of these TKO vape cartridges had you gone through before you started feeling it?
I really was never a big advocate of those carts. It just was a time and place type of thing.
So this was your first time with the TKO?
No, this is definitely not my first time, but I wouldn't say I was an avid TKO smoker.
Okay, so now let me ask you a question. After you got the collapsed lung, what do
Mhm.
you think that was from? Juuling or from the TKO?
I don't know if you saw, but this past weekend, the prior CEO of Juul had said that I don't care what these people
they did.
are
They
putting
had some
in.
contaminated Juul pods too,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, and he said, I don't care what they're putting into it. There are drunk people smoking it anyway, so why would I care? Which was a huge eye opener for me, to be
Yeah.
blatantly honest. It's because there are so many college kids, high school kids that are putting this stuff into their bodies,
Right.
and they have no idea what's in it, and we all know that as well. It's not a huge shocker, and if someone is trying, it's just a ridiculous situation. So
Well, I think it's ridiculous to the point where we know that this current vaping epidemic supposedly came from contaminated THC cartridges. And so you're telling me you're doing a TKO, but now all of a sudden you hear that Juul itself was sending out contaminated. Now you would think a legit company like Juul wouldn't do that.
yeah.
So it could have been from the Juul.
Well, it's also has a lot to do with
Go ahead.
all these gas stations and such trying to make an extra buck, 1 or 2
Right. And so they buy them at a cheap price.
and they don't even know if they're real.
Right.
So especially after the whole flavor thing got banned with all of that and such, it was a huge shift over to see what kind of happened.
You want to switch places here?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Uncle Lou, get back to your normal spot. This is Matt. I don't know if you were listening to us on the way. So we were discussing his own issue. This is somebody right here who actually got a collapsed lung from vaping, or, we're trying to get the cause, but doesn't look like we're going to get a definitive answer, because now that he's telling me he did Juul and a TKO.
Right.
But now we find out Juul's been sending out contaminated product too.
Oh man.
So it could have come from either one.
Oh man.
But anyway, thank you for your insight, Matt. You could
Of course.
I don't know what Harry's doing with the camera. Get in camera view. Move over a little. You don't have to hide. By the way, this
Just
is
stay where you're at.
this is Lou.
Hey.
Uncle Lou, Matt, this is the intern I told you about,
Yeah,
but we don't
yeah.
have to do
Pleasure.
the intros
It's a
on the
pleasure.
air.
Yeah,
It's a pleasure.
exciting. We're
Um,
very excited.
So
I
we were
appreciate it,
discussing that with the vape, but now that you're here, I know that you're the new USDA rules came out for
Yeah.
hemp farmers.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have Mike Goodenough on the air, and you guys, I want to discuss with you guys. What are the differences going to be now that the federal government is involved with it? But I don't want to get into that now till you get
Right.
Mike on
When
the
Mike
phone.
gets on the line, we'll be able to talk about
Yeah,
that a
now
little
that the
bit more.
feds are involved, they're going to have, you're going to have to answer to them as well as your state. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so
Yes,
we'll
sir.
discuss
Yes,
that,
sir.
and we'll see how we have to answer to the feds now. But anyway, I did. How was your weekend, Lou?
My weekend was great, brother Joe. How was yours?
Good, good.
Spent the weekend playing with plants.
Yeah, very nice. How was Halloween?
Halloween was great. I worked all day, even though it was raining. It was really nice. The kids got to go out in the afternoon because it didn't really rain as much in the evening.
Right,
But we're old school. We
did it right.
we work.
We used to
make
go
it
out in
work.
the
We used to
rain.
go out in the rain. I got some kids,
course
so we
we
make sure they
did.
can do that too. Why not?
Mm-hmm. I didn't care. I went out in the rain.
That's right. My
I
kids.
wore just an umbrella.
I was in the city.
I put a hoodie on. I don't friggin' know. You can't hear yourself, Lou.
No, I can't hear myself in these things.
There, you got it now.
I don't know.
I think
I'll
he-
find one that.
You're good.
Yeah, that was. You guys can hear me though, right?
Yeah, we can
You
hear
can
you.
hear me. All right, I'll find some. I'll find one that
All right.
jumps right on.
All right, so you went out on Halloween.
This is
Um,
perfect. These are perfect.
You know what I find interesting? Before Halloween, there's all these memes that go out, right?
I love.
Don't be stupid. Nobody's gonna give your kid gummies. Who's gonna do that?
If
right?
you do, send them my way.
Seriously.
So here I'm looking at the news the day after Halloween,
Oh man.
and Waterford THC gummies found in kids' Halloween candy in Waterford.
Really?
So this is right here in Connecticut. They're showing a picture of these THC gummies that were found in a kid's bag, shake and baked gummies. They say right on it they contain 100 milligrams of THC. So it says Waterford police are warning parents to check their Halloween candy because someone handed out THC gummies to 2 children. So they found 2 bags of THC gummies in 2 different children's, trick or treat bags.
Facts.
So that means obviously some smart, some wise ass
That
who's
or
seen all
somebody-
those memes out there.
Yeah,
Said, oh,
just
yeah?
I'm gonna go do something
yeah,
stupid.
I'm gonna go because probably cost them $20.
And
right?
you know what happens? Who knows what happens realistically? And
right.
I'm still maintaining
Fake
plausible
news.
deniability. Yeah, fake news, plausible deniability.
Fake news. The parents put them in there just to get a little publicity.
Somebody, yeah, somebody.
Yeah. Either way, it's just silly because it's just like almost just when you think it's somebody doing something like that you never thought they did. Like everybody saying, "Oh, nobody will ever do that. Nobody will ever do that," and somebody goes and does it. So it just shows you never can tell. But anyway, on from that.
Is there an on from that?
Yeah. So I was seeing also here Bernie Sanders, Uncle Lou. Have you seen that he's trying to legalize marijuana here? He's got a big plan to legalize marijuana completely
I saw that, and that was very interesting.
federally, and he wants to make sure that he expunges everybody's records and that he makes sure that big corporations aren't profiting. And if you look at what he's saying, it sounds like it's almost too good to be true. Because, it's not, unless he's going to do this by executive order, I don't see where even some Democrats are going to go along with this, because it seems like it's way too ambitious for what this country is ready for. He's talking about, okay, first thing he would, let's say, expunge the records of those people who've been arrested for marijuana. Right? So we already know that many lawmakers have problems with that because they feel like, oh, we can't let felons out on the street, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing is he wants to, let's see. He doesn't want large corporations' property. So he wants people who've been hurt most to be able to benefit. And the folks that should be involved in the legal marijuana will be people of color. No, and I agree with that. But I don't see, unfortunately, I don't see the Republican Senate or anybody like that going along with something like that.
Probably not.
Probably
you know,
not, but
probably not.
we'll see what happens. Realistically, that's one of those things that it can go both ways. There's a reason why it came up. There has to be some steam
yes.
behind it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we can't look at things and say, "Oh, we didn't get any steam behind it," and started pushing forward. So it's out there.
And you
So-
know, I think it's that whole tactic of you got to start high. You know what I mean? And then negotiate your way to some sort of compromise. So if you start very ambitious, and then, you know, finally when you get it down to the legislative process, at least you have set a high mark that even if you knock it down a tiny bit, it's not too bad. So you know what I'm trying to say? You ask for a lot, and then if you get more than you expected that way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, but the first thing, obviously, is that Bernie needs to be elected.
Yeah. Well, you know, he's doing it. We'll get moving there. Yeah, him along with the other 20 people that are going along. you know,
that
so
are trying
He's
to be.
not the only, you know, he's not the only.
Well, it seems like they're all pro cannabis in some way, but he's the only
Right.
guy who's actually come out and said, this is how I want to do it. You know, and one other thing he wants to do is cover it through Medicare for All, which is his big, you know, universal health care plan. And I don't know that that's a good, you know what I mean? I don't know that covering medical marijuana with insurance, then you give the control of the medical marijuana industry over to the insurance industry. And that's when they start dictating what you can buy, how much you can buy, what kind of medicine you can use. And they would even probably get in there and start telling the medical marijuana industry what kind of medicine they could sell. As long as they're covering it all, because this Medicare for All is supposed to be for everybody, right?
Right. Right.
It's true.
So I just don't know how this is going to work, but it should be interesting to see how it plays out. Obviously, this election season is very young. We have a year to go before the actual election. Tomorrow is election day. In a lot of municipalities are electing their mayors. And actually, right here in New Haven, we have a race going on. You know what's funny? I don't even know the name of the Republican candidate.
Democratic, you know what? And they're obviously listening to us over there. We know all the names of the Democratic
Yes,
caucus there,
yes.
and Democrats that are running because.
There were 3 that were running.
Yep, and they were very vocal.
Well, very vocal.
Very, very, very vocal.
I think the Democratic primary race was worse than any
Yeah. big ones.
in any
And you know
real
what?
election.
I apologize for not being more well versed on this, but I should know who the Republican nominee
Right.
here
Harry?
is. Harry?
Who's the Republican candidate in New Haven? So you're telling me
Oh.
that what's his name, Justin Elliker, is running unopposed?
Wow.
I mean,
Fact
so
check.
he's
That's a fact
automatically
check.
like
Fact
mayor?
check.
And our phone calls.
Our
in.
phone call.
Let's
is
pay the
in.
bills.
Oh yeah, you're listening to Cannabis Corner on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We are streaming live on TuneIn Radio and NewHavenIndependent.org. We're also streaming live video on Facebook Live. Just go to facebook.com/New Haven Independent, or go to your Facebook page and look us up.
That's right.
Fact
So
check.
he's
Very cool.
automatically like mayor.
Fact check.
And our phone calls.
Where's phone call?
Let's
is
pay
in?
the bills.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
it.
What are you doing, Harry?
He's listening to
Cannabis
the
Corner
radio.
on WNH. Mike?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Hey. Hey, on the line we got Mike Goodenough from D&G Ag Tech and also Sweet Heel CBD. How are you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing excellent. How are you guys doing today?
Great. How's life on the farm?
Oh, it's a happy day, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. You got some nice weather. Thank you for taking time out to chat with us for a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Big news in the hemp industry, I would say, that the USDA finally came out with their version of what they would like to see as the regulations for the federal hemp industry. So, and basically they came out with a set of rules. A lot of them were expected, some of them were unexpected. And I know both you and Lou, this affects your business
Right.
very
It
much
affects
so.
us directly.
So what I'd like to
Oh,
know
absolutely.
is, now that the USDA is involved, right, and they've come up with their regulations, and they haven't quite gone through yet. There is a 60-day comment period where hemp farmers like yourselves and regular citizens can comment and send their comments to the USDA regarding the regulations they released. So they're not quite set in stone yet, but this is what they would like to see. Now, what I'd like to know from you guys is, now that the feds are involved and there's a USDA licensing, does this mean that you guys now have to not only license yourself through the state, but you also have to get a federal license through the USDA
Correct.
as a farmer? Is that Mike?
Mike?
Lou?
Did we
Lou,
lose
do you
him?
want to start, or you want
No,
me
no,
to?
no. Go ahead, brother. You're our guest today, brother. Sorry, I started jumping
Well,
in
so
there.
I think ultimately we're going to have to, if we're going to want to deal
Mhm.
with that federal level of the business. But our licenses don't require it right
Right.
now, right? And so the expiration of our licenses and the renewal of those licenses might require the federal level registration additionally.
Oh, so this, oh, right, because you guys got a 1-year license, right?
Yeah, 1.5 years.
One and a half.
It lasts till 2020, so
Right.
we'll be good until the end of next year,
Right.
right?
Oh, so you can grow next year
Yes.
without having to
Correct.
answer to the feds, right? And obviously, by the time they put this in anyway, it will probably be 2021 anyway. So, all right. So this, and now I'm seeing that here, a federal license will actually be a 3-year license.
Right.
So that will give you a little bit longer. So tell me,
Well,
yeah, go
and
ahead.
I think that's going to be easy to integrate, quite frankly. I think it's going to be done in the very same capacity, through the same e-licensing. I think it'll push us right to the portal. I don't think it's going to be a very long and contorted, process. I think it's going to be highly integrated.
Right. And here in Connecticut, like, correct me if I'm wrong there, Mike, but our standards here in Connecticut, when they put everything together, kind of put us right at that level already. So it didn't really hinder us too much, where some of our associates in some of the southern states and more the Bible Belt area down there, where their limits were higher, I saw a lot of people having to toss some of their mothers and, are looking to switch up their genetics. But Connecticut's regulations kind of stayed right in line with what the USDA was pushing out, right?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was the next thing I wanted to get to. And I'm sure everybody saw this article that was circulated throughout social media, how the upcoming CBD industry collapsed in one day and what we could all do about it, right? So here's this major headline. Oh my God, the federal regulations are going to kill the CBD industry. So basically that is about the testing procedures that
Right.
the USDA set forth, which basically set the federal limit at 0.3, right? And also said that you need to now test for total THC, not just Delta 9 THC. So they want
Correct.
THCA and Delta 9 THC included in the test. Now, for Connecticut, tell us a little bit about how Connecticut tests, and will that affect you guys? Either one of you.
Yeah, so ultimately no, because we already decarb. So the requirement
Mhm.
of Connecticut's lab is to actually heat that property up to a point where it goes through a full drying effect, and in turn it does end up going through a decarboxylation also. So we're being measured on those scales as it is right now. The reality is the rest of the industry is going to be catching up to us on that.
Right.
Where it will impact us is where farmers harvest, and when they harvest, and that harvest ends up happening and it ends up sitting, and we're getting a blessing from the Department of Ag, but then we're going to go through a DCP standard, and that DCP standard is higher, right? So that the federal level's regulation on that standard is going to be a little bit higher and the test is going to be a little bit different. That might make the material that passed by Department of Ag to be hot by the standard of the Department of DEA or Department of Consumer Protections, right? So now you have a difference in the test where, yes, I can sell it to you legally, but once I sell it to you legally, you're going to run your own test and you're regulated by a different set of rules, and those rules are now going to make it illegal because the margin for error is very different, right?
So what you're saying is the difference between what the Connecticut Department of Ag and the feds may make you have to harvest early? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying the product that you bring to someone to be used, or when you go to end up selling it, if they then bring it
to
into
another
a
test.
testing lab and they follow DEA standard or
They
the
might
standard
not
set by
pass.
the DCP, at that point,
They might
it
not
could
pass.
show different results than what the Department of Ag or the USDA are defining right now.
Right. Okay, I got you. So previously, what were the testing standards? Were they just testing for Delta 9 in most states? I mean, in Connecticut, I guess we were already doing a total THC test. Is that what you guys are saying? So these new rules that make that really just would affect states that are like the 0.5 states and the 0.9 states.
Correct.
Is that
That's correct.
Yeah.
Now, the penalty for coming up hot is a topic.
Yeah, I
So
heard.
the
I heard
penalty
they really
now
made
is
it a lot
defined by
stricter.
this new law is
Yes, it is.
ridiculous.
All right, let's talk.
So
about
I would have
that.
actually had I'll leave all names out, but I would have ended up having a police officer who would have become a felon
Yep.
by
Wow.
this law.
Yep.
Okay, I would have been a felon by this law. I've had to destroy a crop because it was too hot, but they let me test processes of remediation. And so if that flower is actually heated to a certain temperature for long enough time, you can actually transform that flower. And so and the CBD or the THC that exists in it. So there's remediation processes. So I think what we need to do is really look at what the penalty is to some of this.
Yeah, what
and
did they
make sure
change
that
the
all of a
penalty to? Before it used to be just burn your crop and you're fine, right? Pay a fine, maybe.
Now they established a limit at what's hot and what's criminal.
Oh, so in other words, if
Precisely.
you're at 0.37, 0.36, it's hot. If you're at 0.48, it's criminal. Is that where did they set those limits?
And that's where they're going to be
That would
working
be the
it out.
definition, my friend.
That's
Oh,
the- yeah,
really?
wow.
The area.
So if you get a 0.5 crop,
Yeah.
you could be arrested for that.
Depending on
I had a 1 point
See?
something. After 1, I stopped paying attention to the decimal and said, but listen, the
Ooh.
DCP, like DOAG came in and embargoed my crop, and they did a great job on locking it down. No one can touch it until we go through the remediation process. And even after the remediation process, we're going to have to destroy the crop. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, they did a phenomenal job of enforcing the rule of law,
Yep.
right? And none of us are criminal. None of us are touching that crop. It's not going anywhere. The weight is being completely accounted for from the gram all the way, So it's got a good structure behind the effectiveness to account for what's happening. It doesn't have to become criminal. It's ludicrous.
Well, because it's a mistake. No hemp farmers out there trying to grow 0.1.
Right.
You know what I mean?
exactly.
So it's a mistake. So you're going to be penalized as a criminal for making a mistake. It's not like you're a drug dealer here. So really, that is kind
Right,
of
and-
ridiculous.
yeah, go for it.
Go ahead.
No, for my crop, it got hit by 135-degree temperature because my fans didn't go on in my greenhouse.
Right. So it went
And so
hot.
that's where I'm attributing that massive growth and transformation. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, that's not my fault, right? I'm already going to get hit with a penalized with a crappy crop.
Right.
And so, automation's going to fail people, right?
Right. And you're gonna, you lost money on that. So now all of a sudden you're gonna be put in jail. Oh, that's crazy. So I guess during the comment process, this will be one of the major comments
it is. It's a
coming.
comment. Everybody should make sure that they, go
Yeah.
out there and
Yeah, and definitely go
apologize,
out
I'm
there. You
starting
got a
to run with
little,
something.
you got a little cold there, huh? Lou?
starting to just sore throat, figuring it out, working.
Now,
Long
what
days.
else did they change in these regulations? Apparently, all testing facilities now have to be registered with the DEA and report their test results to the DEA. Is this something else that the has to all the state testing facilities now have to register with the DEA? This is something else
I
they
believe
added.
ours already were, right? So ours already were working with the current medical marijuana locations. So they were already, and really what this comes down to is, do you have a handling procedure for things that are considered a controlled substance?
Right.
And so because I extract, the Department of Consumer Protection already realizes that I'm going to have material that's going to come out of my extraction that's going to be THC, and I have to have a destruction method that matches the required destruction method of any other state, which is just like if you moved into a house and there was pills left in the medicine cabinet, you would bring them down and have them destroyed in a legal way. You
Right.
wouldn't keep them. You wouldn't try and sell. It's the same. So we have to have a process and a procedure where those products have to be locked in a safe and they have to be in a quarantined type of environment. And so that's all. We can abide by those regulations. There's no question, right?
Right. Right.
And so it's not like this is anything new. This is a controlled substance and the handling of a controlled substance. Pharmacies do this all the time. Lots of organizations do this all the time. So we build it in, and it's accountable. That's fine.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, 100%. The biggest thing is having a standard operating procedure, and that's the biggest thing. And Mike's got a great one over there at Sweet Hill and DG AgTech. I've seen it firsthand. So,
Yeah, and I've seen yours. So
Yeah.
you've got a nice handling facility over there too. Now I also understand that they did some transportation in the regulation that now prohibits
beautiful.
states from stopping
from taking and that was necessary because a lot of people were having that issue, and even just purchasing or processing. Mike, you probably had that worry trying to get stuff in from other states. If you needed to get anything in from New York or any other local states, getting in some biomass for extract, right? That's always a worry. Transportation.
Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think the important definition is they're not allowed to impede the transportation. So remember, the decision is left up to the police officer standing there on site of whether they're going to continue or whether it's a justified action to take the next step.
Right.
And so they can't impede our transportation. It is legal to transport. Now, if they feel it's medical, if they feel it has THC in it or is against the laws, then they would certainly step in and impede it. But at the end of the day, this is a very different game now. This makes it absolutely safe for us to transport the legal product that we've created that we're paying federal and state taxes on.
Yeah.
So, of course,
Yeah.
it should be legal. So this one's a no-brainer, but a blessing.
because they put it into law and put it in writing. Right. Right. Exactly right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
yes, absolutely.
there were certain states that were literally and I know one was Idaho, that you kind of almost have to cross through.
Yeah.
And that was notorious for stopping people and taking their crops and holding them up. And thereby, when you hold them up, you kind of almost ruin it. If something sits, that was supposed to be delivered a day ago, now it sits for another week.
Sits in a trailer for a week.
For a
That's
week.
what happens.
And
so
then
now
they
it starts to compost, and it's just hopefully they did everything they needed to for transportation to make sure that they were able to handle that just in case. But realistically, a lot of people are losing their crops, and it's
right. And
it's
so
nerve-wracking.
that's a good thing. That's going to stop. So
Right. And remember, this is a brand new industry. For any of us to have a certain amount of our crop seized is almost detrimental. We're all building. This is
Yeah.
all during a ramping phase of this industry. Nobody's becoming a millionaire overnight. That wasn't our goal.
No.
And so at the end of the day, it's crushing to the business itself. And then the reciprocal business around it, because we're supplying smaller businesses.
right.
So it's definitely, a ripple effect.
Right, exactly. And I understand now that the state itself has to register with the FDA. Now the state of Connecticut has to submit new plans. And also they're allowing tribal
nations have the right to do everything as a sovereign nation as well. So
right.
that's
So do you
really
think
interesting.
they'll do that here in
Yes.
Connecticut? Do you think the Mohegan Reservation and the Pequots will do that here in
Yes.
Connecticut? They just need someone who knows what they're doing, right?
They're already doing it. It's not even about them needing to know.
They're
I
already
know that they've pulled their licenses. That's public knowledge.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Yep. So that's right on the website. You can see that the nations have pulled hemp licenses for growth. They pulled them last year, so they each, I
Oh,
believe.
so they probably participated this year.
So I
You
Yeah.
know,
You're up that way, Mike.
yeah,
right?
Mike's up that way.
absolutely, but here's the beauty. So the ultimate treasure hunt is finding old genetics, especially around hemp,
Yeah.
right? And if there is any place that has not had a ton of development, it's tribal land. If there's any place that we're going to probably see some of the oldest historical genetics come from, it's most likely going to be from that tribal source.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of excited about, this is also one of those first times that you're actually hearing about this new industry being born, and crossing, both of the planes of field, right? We can evenly, in the past, it's always been the energy is going to be done by the tribal group in order to save money because zoning is going to be so expensive for the town that's the next one, blah, 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 right? And there's always these areas, but this is really a unified effort. A lot of these tribal folks are working also hand in hand with some of our farmers. And so, I mean, I see it as a really a large bridge builder, quite frankly.
Oh, I think it's a great thing. I mean, because really, this is where it started, right? I mean, we're going back to
Precisely.
the old days,
Yeah.
right? We're having a half acre of hemp, the whole deal. I mean,
That would be it.
That would be real nice, right? And that was my next question with these new testing, regulations and everything. Is there going to have to be new types of genetics that will be coming out and developed, and maybe these genetics that people have been using may not, we may have to evolve and get into a different type of genetics now.
I know that I'm growing only new strains. Mike's probably got some things that work for him, and I believe that the older strains are being brought
back.
The older strains are just the strains we've been running for the last couple of years are just being made better, refined. We're all working towards regionalizing these strains. I believe that whoever and everybody should, as if not pollen chuck, but if you get a great genetic strain that works for the Northeast, we can all find out that great trusted seed source and start growing some genetics that are acclimated to the growing
This
area.
area, right.
So since it's still the infancy, we have to breed that out and get that going, right, and find those trusted seed sources. And that, I guess that's that Hope for Farmer Co-op. That's the coffee.
Yeah,
That's the coffee me and Mike
absolutely.
have.
And here's the thing.
And
So
talk about.
CHIA,
everyone
right?
went towards
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, everybody went towards CBD this year, right? The reality is that we're going to diversify that crop.
Right.
We're going to see targeted cannabinoids that are very different than just CBD. We're going to see targets around CBGs. We're going to see more people that are going to grow reed-based hemp in order to be able to fulfill that manufacturing side of the fence, right? And so I think there is a lot to be said about the types of hemp that are going to be grown. We're going to grow, there's going to be lots of autoflower. There's lots of things that are going to evolve from the farmer's perspective. We all took a stab this season based on our longitude and latitude, and we learned what genetics are good and what are bad. But every one of us want to test something that haven't been here yet either. So it's about a study. It's about that data moving forward. And I'm excited with what we've all learned. But I'm also more excited about the innovation that's going to come within the next season.
Right.
And so this is going to be a never-ending chain of chasing the right cannabinoid that is being discovered with the properties of what it does, right? So CBG obviously being really the focus on anxiety, and CBN really being the sleep aid, and CBD really being the heal. And so, we're going to chase the next one, and those genetics are going to evolve over time to match each one of those different cannabinoids as we find them.
That was my next question.
I'm excited
about CBG and CBN. Now, is that a function of processing, or are there actually strains that are being developed or have been developed that grow CBN or CBG rich?
Oh, there's strains that grow CBG rich, hands down. CBN is degraded CBD or THC.
So that's processing.
You can create CBN from THC or CBD, and so you would degrade the cannabinoid itself. And so yes, you can effectively take something high in CBD or THC and degrade it to CBN, so you can have CBN specific, especially from an extraction perspective. and that would be your sleep aid. And then you can, yes, there are strains that are CBG specific, but we have to know a lot more and have also a large consumer base on some of these. So as
Right.
we find them, we can't change them because we can't chase them because it's the cool thing to do. We have to chase them because it's proving its own validity as being a cannabinoid that's helpful. And remember, there's other accelerators obviously to these cannabinoids themselves, right? So you end up coming into any of the smells, the different terpenes that are available, other terpenes that come from other plants that would actually effectively help that sleep aid be effective. And so we're going to
Mm.
really get into the science of what's in this plant altogether, not just THC and CBD.
Right. And then you also mentioned the reed hemp, which is more for industrial purposes. So that's a whole different
A whole big area. Yeah.
that's a
I'm
whole
really
different
excited
area.
to work in that sector myself. So I'm really excited
me
to do
too.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I
that's
think a lot of farmers are going to go towards the reed side this next season.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm definitely gonna grow some. We'll work together. We got some. Yeah. We gotta. And as we've coming back, I came back from Idaho, and Mike, this is the first time we got to talk really back since I've been back. But we're putting together a great nonprofit project, partnering with a bunch of people to build a hempcrete home at the farm. So, we're gonna try to work with a ton of people who produced, and hemp CBD. When you grow hemp for CBD, the stalks are kind of the B grade for hempcrete,
Mhm.
and the reed is the A grade for it. So we can definitely put something together using our stalks from this year. So I have somebody working on getting other farmers to donate their stalks for this particular project, and we'll just hammer mill them down, and we'll start using it as our fill. And then we have a group that does lime binder. That we met out in Idaho, and they're going to be bringing some lime binder for us to be playing with, and we can build it all up and make a tiny house over the next year.
Nice.
Something small at the farm, and that's the goal. Try to get
Nice,
as many
little prototype.
farmers
let's
together.
go,
yeah.
man. That's beautiful.
Try
There
to
you
get as
go.
many of the
Innovation.
farmers together and really kind of make it a Connecticut hemp project, not just one
Right.
individual. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
a
for
bigger
the whole
cause,
state.
big causes.
I like
That's why
that.
we do that.
Well, we all got to stick together here, and I like that about the hemp industry. And I think we talked about that last week about that event.
Yeah.
How different the hemp industry is from the cannabis industry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, big difference. Big difference.
Ton
And-
of support between everybody in the industry, and we kind of all understand we're treading water, so we we try to help as we can with each other, versus looking at each other like, oh, it's a big community. The hemp community is also
cooperative,
very cooperative.
not competitive. I like that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and
both-
that's really, think about that term. A lot of people have lost touch with what that term really is,
Yeah.
unless they've been effectively involved in it.
right.
And it takes a village, and we're really lucky with, this is some of the oldest farming communities in the world,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or in the country. Sorry, in the country here.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're rocking and rolling.
And it
Yeah.
probably
And
started
not
out
the
with
world.
hemp.
Let me retract that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
We-
these fields used to be hemp fields.
At that event, we met some of the older generations that said, we used to be required to grow hemp.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, that's right. Your farm grew hemp
Yeah.
ages ago.
Because we were here, Connecticut's been here a long time.
Connecticut's been here a
Yeah.
long time.
And apparently Boston was a big hemp capital.
Big.
The Commons.
And import and export.
So we're just going back to our roots, and I like that, guys. Thumbs up, thumbs down for the USDA regulations. Both of you guys, good?
I'm cool with it. I'm not really up in arms about it. There's little things, but that's why we have our comment period. We
Right.
can send our comments in.
And you can do that up until the 30th of December.
Yep.
So please, everybody especially that felon part.
Yeah.
That's very
A well-written comment. Let's not just say, when it says comments, it's supposed to be a well-written.
right.
Let's not just throw something in there that they're not going to take the time to read. Let's say, they are reading through them. Let's give them something good to read at least.
And this is the USDA, remember.
Yes.
So you go to the USDA website, and they have a place where you can put the hemp comments.
That's right.
Yeah, USDA feds. Mike, how do people get in touch with you? I want to thank you for coming on today. How do people get in touch with you so they can find out what's happening up there at D&G Ag Tech and up at the farm?
Yeah, so we're up in Eastford. We are extracting every day. If people want to come see the plant that's growing to be extracted next, or the process of
Mhm.
extraction, you can pick me up at Mike@sweetheal.com. or pick us up at Sweet Heel, as in healing, not as in your heel on your foot, and sweetheel.com. And we're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're on them all.
All right.
Yeah.
Very, very cool, Mike. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm looking forward to the next time. And thank you for coming on.
Hey, congratulations on being such a historical show in such an amazing time.
We appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. We're all making
Take care.
history. All right, man.
Talk to you later, brother.
All right. Bye-bye. Pay the bills real quick.
Let's pay the bills.
You're listening to Cannabis Corner on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We are streaming live on TuneIn Radio and NewHavenIndependent.org. We're also streaming live video on Facebook Live. Just go to facebook.com/New Haven Independent or go to your Facebook page and look us up. You can also start following us on Cannabis Corner New Haven on Facebook. All right, Uncle Lou. So
What's going on, good sir?
we're wrapping it up here. We got a couple of events going on this weekend. I understand you are a judge
yes,
of
sir.
the Harvest Cup. So
Third year in a row.
Very
yes,
cool.
sir, my friend.
I may or may not have had to test a lot. of
I think you might have
concentrates.
tested before you came here.
So I bought a Puffco Peak.
Oh, you did. You're going
I
up.
did. And I may have had to test it.
Yeah, you may. Of course. Well, you're a judge. How
I
are you going
may
to judge
have had
without
to-
testing
I had to test the
contestants?
the contestants and the contestants' talents. one
Right.
might say. So the Harvest Cup is a great event.
It's this weekend.
This weekend in Massachusetts. It highlights the cannabis culture as well as it is a competition. The competition
Right.
goes on at the Mass Mutual Center.
Worcester,
Worcester,
Mass.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And it's big. It's really big. So it's literally a 60-minute drive from New Haven. So you take
Yeah.
an hour ride up. You get there. You park right by the casino.
Right off the
and
exit,
such,
yep.
Right off the exit. Joe and I went last year
Yep.
together. We'll keep going. And so this is the third year as a judge. First year I did flower,
Mm-hmm.
which was beautiful. And then the year last year I did edible sweets.
Oh,
So it keeps growing, the contestants grow, and
Right.
the everything keeps growing, and it's nice, and it's awesome because you can go up to this trade show like any of the other trade shows that we've gone to.
right.
There'll be 1,000 booths of 1,000 people,
Different
and
products,
different
right.
products, everything you name it. It's at a large convention center, and right in the middle, as you walk up, you'll see a display case
Mm-hmm.
full of every single entry that went in.
Yeah.
And there's probably about 1,000 entries over
Yeah. over
seven
time.
different categories. So you 20 so what's realistically? Yeah, 20. I got 22 pieces.
Wow.
The
That
flower
was just
indica
concentrate?
concentrate.
Wow.
Flower indica was 25 pieces. Flower sativa was like 22.
Oh.
Edibles were broken up into different categories, and each one was about 20, 21, 22-ish. So 7 times 25, whatever that is. That's kind of the amount of
Wow.
contestants that went in on that.
That's like almost 800.
right.
Wow.
So
So that's a good event. That's up this weekend, the 9th
it's a
and 10th.
great event. Take
We-
the ride up.
I will be there on Sunday, I
Yep.
believe. We will be representing Cannabis Corner, but you already be up there anyway.
Yep.
So I'll lose
We're
a
gonna have a
judge.
good time.
We're gonna have a good time. I'll probably show up on Sunday. And so that's another thing that's going on. I recommend anybody who's interested in the cannabis industry to head up there. And then the other thing is the Connecticut Normal Meeting is the 20th.
That's right.
And we're going to figure out our fundraiser for this year. That's going to be on December 18th. I believe that's going to be more of a CBD dinner, a little more
Nice.
low key than usual, not all the karaoke crazy stuff.
Yeah.
A few vendors. We're going to have some CBD food, some nice music, maybe some live music. And that's it, some
We always work
acoustic
it out.
stuff. Yeah, that's going to be at the Cellar. And on the 20th is the normal meeting at the Cellar. That's in Treadwell Avenue in
That's
Hamden. That starts at 7. Now, I just want to, we're going to be off the air next week on the 11th because of Veterans Day.
That's right.
We're going to pay homage to the veterans, which is a good thing. But on the 18th, we have Josh Elliott. I have
That's
booked
right.
him for the
He's
18th
finally
to come
booked.
on. He's finally
Dog.
coming on. Now, for those of you who don't know, Josh Elliott is the representative from Hamden who has been a big spearhead with the legalization campaign.
Big supporter.
Big supporter, one of the main guys in it, and he's usually pretty forthcoming with information. And he's agreed to come on the 18th and talk about what's happening with legalization for 2020 here in Connecticut, because he was at that governor's
That's
meeting.
right.
So what I would like to do is get questions from the audience.
Hey, send us some questions.
So send us some questions on the Cannabis Corner Facebook page, or even comment right under the link here where the show is being broadcast on what you would like us to ask Josh Elliott on the 18th when we come back. And we will bring your questions up to him, and I'm gonna make that a little bit longer of a segment too. I'm gonna have him call in a little earlier than usual, so because we know that there's a lot of people who have a lot to ask, and there are a lot of questions that I have to ask Josh Elliott about
That's
what's
right.
happening about legalization in Connecticut. So please, we would like your participation, and please do that for us. Leave us comments, and we'll be putting up some notices on Facebook over the next week or so. So again, like I said, we are off the air next week, and we will see you again on the 18th. Have a great Veterans Day. Stay happy, healthy, and high. You're supposed to say that.
It's all right. Joe loved it today. So, as Joe said, stay happy, healthy,
And we
high.
want to thank Matt for coming
Matt,
in for
welcome.
the first time.
Thanks, boys.
He'll be
Much
around a little
appreciated.
bit more. We'll get him on the speaker a little bit more.
Yeah.
Where
Thank you.
People learn him out a little bit more.
Thank you for
Um,
telling your story.
If
Yeah,
you
of course.
come up, he'll probably be at the Harvest Cup with a
Probably,
I
maybe.
think
Maybe
so. I
next
think we
Sunday.
can work that out. Maybe
Get him a pass.
That's right. So, have a great day, everyone.
All right.
Thanks
See
so
you
much.
next week. See you in the
Go
18th.
hard. Grower said he got sour, need that whole yard. I'm chasing turkey bag, you chasing gold yard. Tell us down, we won't go far. Blue sherbet stuff the whole jar. 100 P's on the Bay Bridge, stuck in traffic. If I ever run in a Riri, let's make magic. Die doing